So the first part that we're going to talk about with trigonometry is the unit circle. So this is the unit circle that you have in front of you. So the unit circle is a circle with radius 1. So what that means is that any point I choose on the circle, if I measure that distance from the origin, I get 1. Now what this circle tells us is that for any degree that I want to measure, I can tell you the trig function, sine, and cosine of that degree. So the way this works is you always start on the positive x-axis, and I move counterclockwise, and that'll tell me how much the angle is. So if I start here and move to the line I've just drawn, the angle that we would be talking about is there. So that's how the unit circle works. You start at the x-axis, kind of move around, and that's the positive angle. Now I could talk about a negative angle, and that would be moving clockwise. This is a negative angle. So what these numbers mean is they tell you the cosine and sine values of different angles. So there are two ways to represent angles. You can either talk about radians or degrees. So radians versus degrees. Degrees, they go from 0 to 360, or you could have negative degrees, but you can see the degrees are on the inside of this circle. And you can also have radians. Radians go from 0 to 2 pi. The reason that it's 2 pi is because the circumference of a circle with 1 as the radius is 2 pi. So radians go from 0 to 2 pi, degrees go from 0 to 360. If you want to know the sine or cosine of an angle, you find the corresponding angle, which we have written here, in either radians or degrees, and then read off the coordinates of that angle. So the x-coordinate is always going to be cosine of the angle, and the y-coordinate is going to be the sine of the angle. So, for example, what is sine of pi over 4? Well, let's see. Let's go to pi over 4. So I start at 0 and move up positively pi over 4, this angle here. The sine of that angle is going to be the y-coordinate. The y-coordinate here is pi over square root of 2 over 2. Okay. How about another one? What is the cosine of 5 pi over 4? So I start at the x-axis. I move in a positive direction, 5 pi over 4 to this angle here. And then I say the cosine is the x-coordinate. So here's my x-coordinate. So negative square root of 2 over 2. How about cosine of 3 pi over 2? So I start at the x-axis. I move in the positive direction to 3 pi over 2. I look at the x-coordinate here because I'm looking at cosine. I see that's 0. How about sine of negative pi over 4? So if I'm talking about a negative angle, I'm going to start at the positive x-axis, but instead of moving in the positive direction, I move in the negative direction. So negative pi over 4 would be here. You can see pi over 4 I went 2 notches, so negative pi over 4 I would go down 2. Now I say what is the y-coordinate there? Y-coordinate's negative square root of 2 over 2. And then lastly, how about cosine of negative 2 pi over 3? Well, if I start at the x-axis and I go in the positive direction, 2 pi over 3, you can see I go just past the pi over 2 to one more notch. So if I start at the x-axis and go in the negative direction, I go just past this y-axis to the next notch. So I'm at this angle. And now I say, what is my x-coordinate there? Negative 1/2. So that's how you use the unit circle to read off different angles. And these are not all the angles. You can have anything between 0 and 2 pi or anything between 0 and 360. These are just the most common ones.